Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Be sure to leave your comments. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. It is the end of an era for LSU basketball. And I was asked earlier today, I did an interview on SiriusXM with Peter Burns and Chris Doering, and they asked me, how I was feeling, how LSU fans should be feeling. And the word I used was conflicted. Because I think there was, look, let's be honest with each other. From the moment we heard Will Wade's voice on that wiretap, there was always this feeling like this moment was inevitable. There was an air of inevitability, like this was going to be the end, just when and how and what the circumstances would be. When LSU reinstated Will Wade back in 2019 and they restructured his contract such that when they got an NOA, or if they got an NOA, they could fire him for cause, it was setting up for this moment. The oddity is that LSU backed their guy for the last 3 years. Lines were drawn in the sand, and they supported their coach and happily continued to collect really nice gate receipts for a basketball program that all of a sudden became very relevant until Wednesday when the NOA came down and ultimately Scott Woodward and William Tate jointly, I would assume, made the decision to move on from Will Wade, as was expressed in their letter to the LSU community on Saturday. I want to be clear because, as I've talked about this over the weekend, there's still some selective hearing. So I'm just going to be as blunt and direct and straightforward as I can be in hopes that what I'm saying actually penetrates, okay? I am okay with LSU firing Will Wade. I'm okay with it. I understand it. Your coach is on a federal wiretap talking about paying players. You have a notice of allegations with nearly double-digit allegations of level 1 violations. I get it. I understand why an administration would move forward. It's also coupled with a football investigation, and if you're trying to put forth an air of compliance, it's hard to do that when you continue to support this coach. I get it. I understand it. And if that's the decision that LSU wants to make or has made, okay. I could and have also pointed to Auburn and Bruce Pearl, Kansas and Bill Self, Arizona and Sean Miller, 3 coaches also involved in that very same FBI investigation who found their programs in the midst of it, and those respective programs found a way to salvage their very popular coaches. Bruce Pearl and Bill Self have lifetime contracts. They were involved in the same thing. But it wasn't their voice on the wiretap, which ultimately is the one prevailing difference here. I'm okay, again, with LSU making the decision to move on. I don't like it because a lot of the phone calls that I had over the weekend, there are defensible points in the NOA, which I think is going to happen. But the when and the how, I think, is what I have a problem with. Scott Woodward and William Tate released a letter on Saturday to the LSU community, and there's 3 parts of this letter that made me shake my head, if not laugh out loud. It's kind of the feeling of, don't tinkle on my head and tell me it's raining. Just shoot me straight. First, the letter mentions the program operating under an exhausting shroud of negativity. It's their words, exhausting shroud of negativity. That's true, but that's been the case for 3 years. And if you retain Will Wade for 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 more years, that's still going to be the case. So why now? If the exhausting shroud of negativity was too much to bear. That's one. 2, they write about their responsibility to protect and promote the integrity and well-being of our entire institution and our student athletes, and that being paramount. Okay, If your student athletes were really at the center of what you cared about, you wouldn't be firing your coach the day before Selection Sunday. You're not. This group of players has worked very hard to earn an NCAA tournament berth, and you cut them off at the knees the day before Selection Sunday. You handcuffed them. You took away their coach. Don't tell me you care about the student athletes. You don't. And don't tell me you care about the integrity of the institution, because if you did, you'd have fired him 3 years ago or at any point over the last 3 years. That's not what this is about. And the part of this that was the most perplexing of all is the line that reads, notably, our decision to terminate Coach Wade and Coach Armstrong is not an acknowledgement of agreement with any of the allegations. The university will determine its positions on the allegations after an exhaustive and objective examination of the relevant facts and applicable NCAA regulations. Basically saying, by the way, we're firing him, but we're not saying we agree with the NOA. Okay. So you make it very clear you're not saying that you agree with the NOA. The exhaustive shroud of negativity has been there for 3 years. And you want to do what's best for the student athletes, which is not firing the coach the day before Selection Sunday. This entire letter is a pile of crap, if I could put it bluntly. And I don't know who wrote it, but poorly done. And to Scott Woodward and William Tate for putting your name on it, come on. So what would you rather him say, Matt? Okay, I would have rathered this. We have supported Will Wade over the last 3 years because conversations with our coach at the time of his suspension led us to believe that he might be in the right. However you want to phrase that. Given the nature of the allegations in this NOA, we no longer feel it is responsible to have Coach Wade represent our university. Okay, basically saying we waited. We were patient until we got the NOA. Now we've read it and we just can't proceed anymore. Okay. But what's abundantly clear is that Scott Woodward has always wanted to have his own guy in there. And the second they got this NOA, he was going to fire Will Wade. I didn't know that. You didn't know that. Many of us didn't know that. Maybe Will Wade didn't know that. But it's clear this was always going to be Scott Woodward's charge, is as soon as this NOA came, because that's what they wrote in the amended contract back in 2019, as soon as this NOA came, they were going to fire Will Wade. The problem I have is, man, you could have waited 3 weeks. You're preparing a response to the NOA anyway. You could have waited 3 weeks. You could have waited 3 months. And you could have said, after reviewing all of the evidence in the NOA and what we have, we've determined we're no longer comfortable moving forward with Will Wade as our coach. Okay, there were better ways to do it than what they did. It's done. It's crying over spilled milk at this point. And now LSU has to move forward. And I understand if you're an LSU fan today, it's conflicting. Because on one hand, you probably understand this. But the other hand, you look and you say, damn it, this is what's done in college basketball. Like, this is the way it's always been done in this sport. It's a dirty sport. Why is our guy in the spotlight? And the example, and I understand that completely. And there's a fear that, look, you're probably facing sanctions and scholarship restrictions and maybe a postseason ban, and it's going to be harder to get players, and you're going to go through a lean period. And it sucks because Will Wade had raised the expectation level at LSU. And it looks like that's going to go away because, well, I mean, we'll talk about it. I don't know who Scott Woodward is going to hire for this job. Like, his whole reputation of being a big game hunter, who wants this job? We'll get to that. But, you know, I would say, and I'll give you this example, I'll give you this analogy, but I want you to understand I'm not comparing the severity of the two. It's the Ray Rice incident. I'm not saying domestic violence is on par with paying a player. Don't misunderstand me. The point is, for years, we heard the word domestic violence, phrase domestic violence. We saw it printed. But when Ray Rice punched his fiancée in that elevator, it added a different layer of awareness. In college basketball, we've heard forever about coaches paying players and sneaker deals, and the dirty AAU coaches. I mean, it's part of the culture that we all accept as reality. But it's different when you hear a coach on a wiretap. And that's why LSU was not able to get out of this shroud of negativity the way Auburn and Kansas and Arizona and NC State and others were. And it led us to this inevitable day. I'm grateful for Will Wade. He made a lot of people give a damn about basketball when they hadn't for a long time. And I'm concerned that Scott Woodward's not going to be able to find a competent replacement. I think it's going to be a very, very tough sell to a coach for this job at this point. I understand the firing. I don't like how they did it. And now we got to wait, see what's next for LSU basketball and similarly LSU football. Because my belief is not only was this a cost-saving metric, it's why they restructured his contract to be able to fire him for cause, but it was also done to save football. By making basketball the sacrificial lamb, they're going to pray for leniency in football and to end the football investigation so that program, the cash cow, can move forward. That might just be the reality LSU's facing today. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.